Okay, so you know that feeling when success feels just really far off, like a constant uphill climb.
Right. And even small stumbles feel like major setbacks.
Discouraging, or maybe you've got these big, exciting goals, but the actual day-to-day actions to get there feel, well, kind of like a grind.
Yeah, the doing part can be tough.
Totally. So if any of that sounds familiar, then this deep dive is probably for you. We actually got some really fascinating material sent in this week from one of you listening.
Oh, excellent. What's the focus?
It's all centered around how we actually make progress, how we navigate those challenges that always pop up, and importantly, how we approach it all with integrity.
That sounds like a powerful combination. It goes beyond just quick tips, right?
Yeah.
More about building something solid.
Exactly. And looking through what you shared, listener, 3 main themes really jumped out. So think of this as like your fast track to getting these core ideas.
Yeah.
First, this whole idea that success isn't some big one-off event, but it's more about the small, consistent things we do every day.
The daily habits.
Mm-hmm.
Second, how those moments we often label as failures are actually really important learning opportunities, places for growth.
Crucial. Failure's feedback, essentially.
And finally, the principle of leading with integrity, which isn't just for bosses, right? It's for everyone.
Absolutely. It's about character. So habits, failure, integrity. Sounds like a great roadmap.
Ready to jump in?
Let's do it. These 3 points really capture the essence, I think.
Yeah.
How daily actions build momentum, how challenges help us adapt, and, principles guiding it all.
Okay, let's tackle that first one. Success is a habit. The material really drove home that it's not sudden. It used this really great analogy of a tree growing.
Oh, I like that one. You don't just plant an acorn and boom, instant oak tree.
Right. It's the consistent stuff. The daily water, the sun protecting it over time that lets it grow tall and strong.
It's such a good metaphor because it reflects our own growth. We often want that one big break, that lucky moment.
Yeah, the shortcut. But the sources here are clear. Real, lasting success usually comes from those small, almost invisible daily efforts. Think about like a musician mastering an instrument.
Years of practice.
Yeah, exactly. Years of consistent practice, not just one great performance.
And it mentioned this story about a cricketer, Arjun. He wasn't like the most naturally talented guy.
Okay.
But every single day he was out there practicing. No crowds cheering, no immediate praise, just that commitment.
The discipline.
Yeah. And years later, he becomes the standout player. Just shows how those habits can really, really build up.
And that lines up perfectly with how we learn skills, doesn't it? That consistent practice literally builds pathways in the brain. It's the small improvements adding up over time that lead to mastery.
Okay, so how do we actually do this? Like in our real lives? The sources had some practical ideas. One was about building a morning ritual.
Starting the day right.
Yeah, but not some crazy complicated thing. Just, starting intentionally, maybe a few minutes of quiet, or reading something inspiring, or just jotting down your main focus for the day.
That intentional start is key.
Yeah.
Being proactive instead of just reacting to whatever comes your way.
Right.
And that suggestion, waking up maybe 30 minutes earlier, to practice gratitude or just plan one small action towards a goal. It sounds small, but doing that consistently really focuses your mind and energy. Sets the direction for the day.
It feels less overwhelming too, I think. Instead of looking at the whole mountain, you just focus on that first step.
Exactly.
Another big point was choosing progress over perfection.
Oh man, perfectionism. That can really stop you in your tracks.
It really can. It's a common trap. We see brilliant people just get stuck waiting for the perfect moment or the perfect plan before they even start.
Yeah, analysis paralysis.
Right. And that story about Maya, the graphic designer, her mentor told her, done is better than perfect. That was the key for her.
So just get it out there. Yeah, share the drafts, get the feedback, learn, improve. That's how she moved forward and built her career. It wasn't about getting it perfect the first time.
That's kind of freeing, isn't it? Knowing you don't have to have it all figured out from the start. The process is the learning.
Absolutely. The learning happens in the doing, in the refining.
Okay, then there was this idea. Surround yourself with habits, not just goals. That one really clicked for me.
It's a subtle difference, but it's so important. Goals give you where you're headed.
Like, I want to write a book.
You're right. But the habits are the actions that actually get you there. Like, I'll write 200 words every day. The habits are the engine. One source quoted Tony Robbins saying something like, it's not the occasional big thing, it's what we do consistently that shapes us.
Right. So break down the big goal into those small daily actions. The sources suggested picking just one small habit today, like reading 10 pages or a 15-minute walk or drinking more water.
Yeah, something manageable.
Feels much less daunting than trying to change everything at once.
And that one small win, that one habit you stick to, it often creates momentum. You feel good. You think, okay, what else can I do? It builds on itself.
A positive feedback loop.
Exactly. Which leads nicely into the next point.
Yeah.
Celebrating the small wins.
Yes, this is so important. We're often so focused on the final destination, we forget to acknowledge the steps we took to get there. The sources use that analogy of a baby taking their first step and everyone clapping. Why do we stop doing that for ourselves?
That self-acknowledgement is vital for motivation. Our brains love positive reinforcement. When you recognize your progress, even small progress, it builds confidence and encourages you to keep going, especially when the big goal still seems far away.
Builds that inner drive.
Exactly. Internal momentum.
So the big takeaway for this first part seems to be consistency beats intensity. Those small daily steps add up to way more than just occasional big pushes.
Precisely. It's like compound interest for personal growth. Play the long game. Trust the process of consistent action.
Okay, the power of consistency. Got it. But inevitably, things go wrong sometimes, right? Despite our best habits. So the material also had some really great insights on how to handle failure.
Yes, and this is such a critical mindset shift. We're often taught to see failure as, the end, the opposite of success.
Like you messed up, game over.
Right. But what these sources argue so well is that failure is actually a necessary part of learning and growing. Think about learning to ride a bike.
Oh yeah, lots of falling involved.
Exactly. You probably fell, maybe scraped your knee, but each fall taught you something about balance, about steering. It was essential feedback.
You wouldn't learn without the wobbles. And there was that quote, failure is not the opposite of success, it's part of success. Or maybe it was a detour, something like that.
Yeah, it's part of the journey, not the end of it. It ties into having a growth mindset, doesn't it? Believing you can develop your abilities through effort.
Instead of thinking your talent is fixed.
Right? With a growth mindset, you see challenges and setbacks not as proof you can't do it, but as chances to learn and get better.
It seems counterintuitive, though. You think super successful people just don't fail.
But the reality is often the opposite. The sources highlight stories, like Michael Jordan talking about all the shots he missed, the games he lost. He saw those failures as why he succeeded.
Okay, so how do we actually start embracing failure instead of just dreading it? The sources had steps for this too.
Yeah, the first one, and it sounds simple, but it's powerful, is just watching the words you use, your self-talk.
How you frame it.
Exactly. Instead of saying, I failed, maybe try, I learned, or I didn't work out as planned, let's see why.
Shifting from judgment to curiosity.
Precisely. It takes the sting out of it a bit and opens you up to finding the lesson. Instead of, I messed up, maybe I discovered what doesn't work.
That changes the feeling immediately. It's less about blaming yourself and more about analyzing the situation.
It really does. It detaches your self-worth from the outcome. You are not the failure. The attempt just didn't succeed that time.
Okay, so change the words, then what?
Then actively look for the lesson. Ask yourself, okay, what did I learn here? What will I do differently next time?
Like after a bad presentation, instead of just beating yourself up?
Ask, was I prepared enough? Did I connect with the audience? What technical glitches happened? How can I improve those specific things? There's that Japanese saying mentioned, fall 7 times, stand up 8, keep learning, keep getting back up.
Find the wisdom in the fall. I like that.
And this process, the sources argue, actually builds your character.
How so?
Well, navigating setbacks builds resilience, for one. It teaches humility. It strengthens you internally. Think about someone who overcame huge obstacles.
They often seem stronger, more grounded.
Exactly. They develop patience, confidence, new skills, maybe even more empathy through the struggle. Like Denzel Washington said, tough times don't last, tough people do.
And the sources also mentioned talking about failure. That feels a bit scary.
It definitely takes courage. We naturally want to hide our mistakes.
Yeah, protect our image.
But sharing setbacks can be really helpful. It frees you from shame, first off. But it can also help others realize they're not alone. It can even be a sign of leadership, admitting a mistake and focusing on how to fix it.
Okay, showing vulnerability can be strength.
It can. And the last point here was about turning pain into purpose.
That sounds deep.
It is. The idea is that sometimes our hardest experiences, the things that caused us pain, can actually become the motivation for something positive. Your mess can become your message.
Using your own struggles to help others, maybe?
Exactly. Don't waste the pain, use it. Use it to build something meaningful, connect with people, make a difference. That struggle can give you unique insight and passion.
Wow. So failure isn't the end. It's actually fuel. It's data. It's a chance to get stronger and maybe even find a deeper purpose.
Beautifully put. It's a vital part of the growth cycle. View setbacks as feedback, learn, adapt, and keep moving.
Okay, so we've got habits for consistency and reframing failure for resilience. The third big theme was leading with integrity and purpose. And the sources were clear. This isn't just for CEOs or managers.
Not at all. True leadership, the way these sources frame it, is about your character. It's about honesty, about knowing your why. It's how you act day in and day out, no matter your job title.
Right. The sources have this reflection question. Think about someone you really respect. Why do you respect them? And often it's not just their success or smarts, right? It's their kindness, their honesty, their values, things deeper than just accomplishments.
That's a great exercise because it highlights that real influence comes from our core values, just how consistently we live them. It connects to that idea that leadership isn't about being the boss.
It's about taking care of people, like that Simon Sinek quote.
Exactly. Taking responsibility, acting based on your principles.
It really shifts the focus from hierarchy to ethics and purpose. There was a story about a carpenter, Dev.
Ah, yes, the house.
He was retiring, built one last house, but cut corners because, he was almost done. Didn't put his best effort in.
And then his boss gifted him the house.
Ouch. The lesson being, everything you do reflects your character, even when you think no one's watching. Integrity matters always.
It's about doing what's right, not just what's easy or convenient. That's the core of integrity.
Even when it's hard.
Especially when it's hard. Choosing honesty, keeping promises, admitting mistakes. Like Oprah said, real integrity is doing the right thing, knowing that nobody's going to know whether you did it or not.
So the practical stuff is like, apologize when you mess up, speak truthfully, follow through on commitments. Small things, but they build trust.
Huge foundation of trust. And then the really empowering point, you don't need a title to lead.
This is so important. Leadership is action.
Absolutely. It's taking initiative, showing responsibility, influencing through example. The sources mentioned a teenager picking up trash, or a teammate welcoming a new person.
Everyday leadership.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Seeing a need and stepping up, even if it's not technically your job.
Okay. And then leading with purpose, not just goals. What's the distinction there?
Well, goals give you direction, like we said. But purpose gives the meaning, the why behind the goal.
Ah, okay.
Think of the metaphor of the two bricklayers. One just sees himself laying bricks, building a wall. The other sees himself building a cathedral.
Ah, the bigger picture, the meaning.
Right. Leading with purpose inspires others. It keeps you motivated when things get tough. And it leads to a deeper sense of fulfillment. It pushes you to think about why you're doing what you're doing.
And that purpose makes the leadership more authentic, maybe.
Definitely. People connect with leaders who are driven by something bigger than just hitting targets or personal gain.
Makes sense. And linked to that was, be the example, actions speak louder
than words, always. Think about leaders you truly admire. They probably embody the values they talk about. If they preach teamwork, they collaborate. If they value honesty, they're truthful.
Walk the talk.
Exactly. The advice was simple. Practice the qualities you want to see. Be calm under pressure if you value calmness. Be kind if you value kindness. Do the right thing.
Live the values. And the final point, which felt really powerful, was lifting others as you climb.
Yes, the essence of servant leadership. Great leaders aren't just focused on their own success. They actively help others grow.
Like a mentor who believed in you.
Or a teacher, like in the story about Kunal, the quiet boy whose teacher saw his potential and encouraged him. That belief can change someone's trajectory.
It's about support, encouragement, creating opportunities for others.
Yeah, understanding that true leadership involves helping the whole team, the whole community, rise together. Kind words, support for them. They have real power.
So leadership isn't a position, it's about who you are, your integrity, your purpose, and how you treat and uplift others, accessible to everyone.
That's the core message. Lead from where you are with your values, make a positive impact.
Wow. Okay, this has been really insightful, a great deep dive. We've covered the power of daily habits for building success.
How failure is actually a crucial learning tool for growth and resilience.
And how true leadership is grounded in integrity, purpose, and lifting others up no matter your role.
And you see how they all connect, right? The habits give you the foundation to handle failure. And integrity gives you the why to keep going with those habits and to learn from the setbacks.
It all works together. So maybe the final thought for everyone listening, including us, is reflecting on all this. What's one small habit you could start, maybe even today, that moves you towards something meaningful?
And alongside that, how can you consciously choose to see any bumps in the road not as failures, but just as lessons, as data to help you adjust and grow stronger?
Good questions to ponder. Definitely food for thought. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.